It was the endurance race car that saved Porsche from Le Mans humiliation and became one of the most dominant cars of its day. It is the Porsche 917. Let's rewind a bit. In the 1950s, Porsche, with their 356, began to enter competition at Le Mans. However, they were always beaten, even in their own class, by Corvettes, Ferraris, Aston Martins, and then once the 60s came along, Ferrari versus Ford happened, and we all know what happened there. And the cars that they were making, like the 904 and the 906, simply couldn't have a hope of catching up to the main rivals. So, they began work on a new type of endurance racer for the new class that was being entered. And it used components from the 908 open cockpit race car. And what that had was a flat 12 producing around 650 horsepower. So they detuned it to 530 for longevity reasons, to be more reliable. And then they went to work on the chassis. The chassis of the car weighed just 93 pounds because it was aluminum. That's ridiculously light. The McLaren P1 chassis weighs more than that, and that was made less than 6 years ago. Actually, that's 6 years ago now. And immediately the 4.5 liter flat 12 was an immediate success and was very fast. However, it wasn't reliable enough for Le Mans when it made its debut in 1969, and it broke down, leaning Ford to take another victory. Whoops. So they went back to the drawing board, and in 1970, they had the unveil of this. The 917K. What they did is they improved the reliability and they bumped the horsepower up to 600 horsepower. And the original also had some aero instability, which didn't help it during the race. So they fixed that. And, well, after 20 years of failure, 1970 would have been the 20th anniversary of their first loss at Le Mans. They finally claimed their first overall victory at Le Mans in 1970 with the iconic Golf liveried Porsche 917. And a car so cool, only Steve McQueen could drive it. In fact, it set the entire track record for the overall lap time, the fastest qualifying lap, the highest average speed, and the most distance covered in one race. Not too shabby. Not only that, the long tail version, which was used for the high-speed runs, and the K, which was used for the more normal tracks, similar to IndyCar, how they have oval configurations, and road course. Well, with those two vehicles combined, they won 7 of the 8 races in the championship, and then subsequently secured the manufacturer's title. Well done. But that wasn't the end of it. You see, 1971, they would continue their Le Mans success by winning yet again, this time with the iconic white and blue Porsche. Arguably one of the best looking Le Mans cars ever made, short of the 1950s and 60s race cars. Absolutely stunning car indeed. And then we go to their test bed vehicle. One of the most famous cars to never win a race. That, of course, being the 917-20. This thing was a one-off R&D research and development car, meant to test a mixture of the K and the L variants of the 917 to try and maximize aerodynamic efficiency. And it didn't really work. It placed 7th in qualifying, and then it crashed at Le Mans in 1971. So it competed in one race and crashed at the few hour mark. Yeah. So, they decided to scrap that car, never use it again, and put it in a museum, where the pink pig, as it was recognized, is now one of the most iconic racing liveries of all time. And, well, since they were having so much success in the championship over in Europe, and the rules were there were talks that the rules were being changed to reduce the impact of the 917, they went over to a place where there were no rules at all. Can-Am. Can-Am, or Canadian American Racing, is the closest to no rules racing we have ever had in the history of motorsport. Any parts, any drivetrain, active aerodynamics, crazy power figures, and the 917-10 was their first full attempt, with a 5-liter twin-turbocharged flat 12, producing a measly 1,000 horsepower and 650 torque. Oh, and did I mention that it weighed less than 2,000 pounds? Yeah, the power-to-weight ratio is insane. And in fact, it was so good that it broke McLaren's 5-year winning streak at Can-Am. Well done, guys, well done. But that was not the ultimate variation of the 917. No, no, no. They bored that engine out just a little bit more to 5.4 liters and produced 40 psi of boost. 40 psi of boost. And the result was the most powerful race car of all time. 1,100 horsepower in racing trim. 1,580 horsepower in qualifying trim, thanks to those massive turbos. 1,600 horsepower in a car weighing less than 1,800 pounds. What the hell is going on in that car? And it won every single race in the championship except 2, securing the championship title in 1973. Well done, Porsche. Well done. But there was one catch. You see, they didn't want to have... The organizers did not want to have one car dominate the entire season. And they realized something. The car, the 917, got 1.7 miles to the gallon. Yeah, hence why it had a 200-gallon fuel tank. So, in 1974, the organizers thought of a sneaky way to get rid of the Porsche threat by making a mandatory rule of a crazy 3 miles per gallon while racing. And that's just outrageous, guys. Tone it down a little bit. So not only did it kill any hope of the Porsche 917 being competitive, it also killed the entire Can-Am series, but you know what? Semantics. And since Porsche was no longer racing with the 917 at Le Mans, and they also weren't racing it in Can-Am, they decided to send off the 917 in style with an FIA track record. With a closed circuit speed record at Talladega of 221 miles an hour in 1975. It's outrageous, it really is. So, what happened to the 917 afterwards? Well, there were actually 2 road legal versions of the 917 produced. Because you needed to make in 1970, you still needed to have road versions of your cars at Le Mans for top tier prototypes. So they made 2. Yeah. And then if the Le Mans ties don't end there, the 936 would be the 917's successor for some reason. And it would win Le Mans 3 times in a row with the guts of the 917. Now, the 917 is back-ish as a body. Nothing else. It can roll, but it has no engine, nor drivetrain, or interior. But it does have a body and some wheels that roll. Does this mean Porsche's going to put the new 917 supercar into production? Absolutely not, because it's not really a car. But it does give us a look of what a modern 917 might look like. The 917 was the first of Porsche's utter domination at Le Mans. It gave them their first 2 outright victories, as well as 5 more to come with the 936. It gave them 4 championships in 3 years. And it remains as the most powerful production car ever made for racing. A record that will probably never be beaten, now or in the future.